We are back. It's been a while, but we are back again with another edition of WWE 2015. This is the first episode of Monday Night Raw in 2015. Like I said in the previous video, this year, 2015, is the year we go back to showing you that anything can happen in the WWE. And though I may have most of the show booked, it's just a little fine-tuning that I have to do before running it. And the fine-tuning I have to do includes adding him to this pre-show match against Primo and Epico, the Matadors, and also adding a video package because someone is returning, and that someone is everyone's favorite WWE superstar, Roman Reigns. And that, my friends, is gonna move all the way up here, because that's where I want it to be. And we're gonna add something else to the pre-show, as Flex Freeman needs a match, and his match will be against Jack. You know what, I'm just gonna do it on main event. What's the point of having pre-shows when you have two B-shows? So, we kick off Raw tonight, the pre-show matches. You're sitting in the audience and waiting for the show to kick off, and I thrill you. Well, not really thrill you, but I keep your attention with Zack Ryder going up against Santino, and Ryder beats his former partner. And now we move forward with the second match, and that is with the Matadors, as Primo and Epico win on the pre-show against Brett Pyle and Adam Rose. Now, without any further ado, we move forward with the actual show here tonight, and it kicks off with the Authority. You might ask, why isn't Joey and Jamie featured in this segment? Well, let's put it this way. They could be in the ring, but they don't have to talk. And if they're not talking, they don't have to be seen on camera or given talking time. If you don't remember, well, if you don't know why Stephanie would be talking about The Miz, then you didn't watch my episode, the last episode of SmackDown that I put up a while ago, where Stephanie and The Miz had a backstage segment, and Stephanie told The Miz either he gets to interview Bray Wyatt on Miz TV, or they'll find somebody else to do it. Because either way, someone is interviewing Bray Wyatt. It's just a matter of who. And fact of the matter is, Stephanie says that The Miz was given until tonight, and if he had not made his decision, then Stephanie and Triple H would make it for him. And of course, Seth is talking about John Cena. And once you mention Super Cena's name, it ain't too far-fetched to know that Cena would be joining the fray in the arena and making his presence felt in the ring with the Authority. But John Cena isn't the only one, as Stephanie calls The Miz out again, and The Miz tells Steph that he doesn't trust Bray Wyatt and would rather not sit in the ring with him and give an interview. And then Cena jumps in and questions Miz's loyalty, questions Miz's resolve, his confidence, that he just puts on an act for everyone. And Miz reminds Cena that he beat John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania 27, which made John Cena, which kicked off John Cena's losing streak at WrestleMania. And then Cena challenges The Miz again. And yes, we have the main event tonight, John Cena versus The Miz. And now we move forward as someone you have not seen since, well, TLC was the last. No, actually, someone you have not seen since TLC, Rob Van Dam. And RVD is victorious and here to answer the challenge of Rusev from last week on Raw, where Rusev put up Lana and in return to get another opportunity at Rob Van Dam for the United States title at the Royal Rumble in 3 weeks, live on pay-per-view, and RVD accepts Rusev's challenge because he believes that he is Rusev's kryptonite and will continue to show that at the Rumble when he walks in with the U.S. title and leaves with the U.S. title and Lana. And now we move backstage as we go into the locker room where Stardust has his decked out room full of stars, and he's cutting his creepily solar oriented promo about the stars. And it seems like Goldust and Stardust have put their differences aside and are ready for the primetime players tonight on Raw, but we'll have to wait and see later tonight. I mentioned this earlier. The reason for this video is because Roman has returned. The reason why he isn't featured tonight? Well, I didn't feel like it. But fact is, there's always next week. It's 3 hours next week, 3 hours on SmackDown. You know, there's plenty of other TV programming for him to return on, rather than tonight. Now we move to the broadcast position, where Michael Cole, Byron Saxton, and JBL discuss how AJ and Paige have sort of taken the spotlight from Natalya over in the Divas division, and now they question, is Natty capable of taking the spotlight back, or is the tension, the hatred between AJ and Paige too much for Natty to handle on her own? Well, we're about to find out, because Natty steps in the ring against Layla tonight on Raw, and defeats Layla fairly quickly. Well, actually, this is a normal Divas match. But then she jumps on the stick, the microphone, and starts talking about Paige and AJ. She talks about the fact that how they say after they're done with each other, then they're coming for Natty. Well, Natty says, I am not an afterthought. I am the WWE Divas Champion, and that means something. Not just to me, but it should mean something to you. And if it doesn't, well, then you have issues to settle, because it should. And if nobody back there wants to step into the ring against me, then, before she can continue, a familiar theme song comes over the PA system, and this woman ascends from the backstage area as the crowd pops, because Mickie James is back in the WWE. That's right, Mickie James is back in WWE, and she's back to go against Natalya, because Mickie just walks to the ring and faces off with Natalya. The feud that never happened, and it kept at... I'm sorry, I'm talking too fast. The feud that never happened, because how often does WWE make two baby faces feud? Never. But the fact is, Mickie James, Natalya, it's gonna happen, and I guarantee you it's gonna be a good one. Because Mickie wants the WWE Divas title, and that's all she does. She does not say a word. She does not take the mic to explain why she's back. She points at Natalya's title and does the motion that she wants the WWE Divas title. And I can imagine that the wrestling purists, the people that say beyond a shadow of a doubt, well, before a lot of the other divas, either way, even before Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte, even with Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte, Natalya is still among, if not tops the list of the best wrestlers in the WWE Divas division, and Mickie used to be one of them before she left for TNA, and to pursue her music career, actually. More so to do that than to leave for TNA. Now we move forward with the next match as the Primetime Players come up short against Goldust and Stardust, as Stardust grabs a handful of tights off a roll-up on Titus O'Neil, and that leads to this. Following the match, as Goldust is happy that they won, but isn't happy how it happened, because he thinks they could have won. He knows they could have won without cheating. And then it does look like that they are not... It looks like the tension's there, but not so present that it's overwhelming. Even in a win, they lose. Or it sure as hell looks like they did. Now we move backstage as Joe Hennig meets up with Ric Flair in the backstage area, as Joe asks Flair one question. Rick, when you got me 2 matches last week, what were you thinking? Now, if you remember, Joe Hennig actually competed twice last week, once in a 6-man tag team match, and the other time against the debuting Kevin Owens. Yes, I know, he was supposed to debut against John Cena. Well, look, I wasn't going to make him debut at TLC, and he debuted at the beginning of December. He debuted at the beginning of December. So it's not like he could stay out of the ring for a full month. Or almost 2 months. And fact is, this segment is basically teasing tension, issues, problems between Joe and Rick. Because, simple, Joe doesn't like the fact that Flair got him in 2 matches and he lost both. One, because Flair interfered and accidentally hit him. Now we move to the interview space backstage where JoJo's with The Miz, and The Miz talks about the last 2 months he's had, and of course John Cena has to come in and ruin it, because anybody who has better momentum than him, he's jealous of. But, he talks about WrestleMania 27 and beating John Cena in the main event. He talks about the fact that Dolph Ziggler's still belly aching over the fact that he thinks he deserves an Intercontinental title shot. The Miz leaves it with this. I am not only the most must-see WWE champion in history, but I am also the most must-see WWE superstar, talk show host, and only A-list celebrity to win the WWE Intercontinental title, and I'm raising the value, importance, and meaning of this championship just by it being able to be mentioned in my presence, because I'm The Miz, and I'm better than you. Look, you may not like the fact that I actually incorporate what the people say in the promos. You may not like this, you may not like that. I'm detail-oriented. I take the extra step. You want to fast forward past it? Go ahead. Now we move forward with Tyson Kidd against Ty Dillinger. Yes, you might ask, why the hell is a tag team wrestler going in a singles match? Because every match the guy competes in doesn't have to be a tag team match. Especially with his partner. Especially with his partner already at ringside. Because him and Cesaro cut a promo of how they believe that they don't. Well, they want a challenger for the tag team titles, and they're issuing an open challenge pretty much for a shot at the tag team titles. And who accepts it? The New Day. Kofi, Xavier, and Big E accept the tag team title opportunity against Kidd and Cesaro. And accept their challenge. Now the only question is, when will New Day compete for the tag team titles? I can honestly tell you either A, it will be this Friday night on SmackDown, or B, it will be next week on Raw. The reason why I'm not saying, well, it depends. If there's time tomorrow on SmackDown, then I'm doing it tomorrow on SmackDown. If not, it will be on Monday Night Raw next week. Now, for the first time that I can remember for the first time in a while, Bray Wyatt is up against Chris Sabin. I'm not saying because they've competed against each other before. I'm saying this because I don't remember the last time Bray Wyatt actually competed. Why? One reason and one reason only. I was trying to book Bray like The Undertaker in the Ministry, but then I realized, simple, the Ministry and the Wyatt family are not the same thing, because he's not abducting people to get them to join. His family, where is he? But either way, we'll find out later tonight why Bray did what he did to Kane a few weeks ago. Was it last week? It might have been last week. But either way, that's beside the point. And also, if you didn't notice, Raw has a new announce team. And if this is the first time you're seeing it, that means you missed my last video entitled Welcome to 2015, where I, basically go through changing the announce teams and other things having to do with coming into the new year, including new signings. But they talk about Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar and their match upcoming in 3 weeks, live on the WWE Network, the Royal Rumble. Randy cuts a short promo on Brock Lesnar, but it doesn't take Randy that long to say, screw it, Brock, get your ass out here, I don't want to wait till the Royal Rumble in Philly. But Brock doesn't come out. His associate or agent or whatever you want to call advocate, Paul Heyman, makes his way to the ring, and as you can see, it's a pretty good back and forth between Randy and Paul, as expected. And they discuss what's going to happen in 3 weeks' time at the Royal Rumble. In all honesty, this match, unlike last week with Joe Hennig, this week, it was my mistake. I did not realize I double booked Epico. I apologize, Primo. I didn't realize I double booked Primo in putting him in a pre-show match with Epico and a actual show match with Carlito against the Usos. I apologize, I did not realize. I guess I shouldn't have booked the pre-show match, because I booked this match first. As you actually saw at the beginning of the video. But either way, this was just to get the Usos a win, because they hadn't won a lot recently. Or I feel, get them a win, get them used, what's the difference? Now we move back to the broadcast position with Byron and his cohorts. And they put over the fact, as the graphic comes up on the screen, it is not going to be Miz TV. It is not going to be the Peep Show. It is not going to be the VIP Lounge. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. It is going to be the highlight reel tonight on Raw with Y2J and his special guest, Bray Wyatt. And Jericho interviews Bray and asks him the question that a lot of people have been wondering. Why did he help Seth Rollins? Why did him, Harper, and Rowan take Kane out? And he says simply, the apocalypse is coming, and it's time for the big dogs to fall, and the new face of fear to rise from the ashes of the old. And this is why Bray Wyatt not just doesn't fit The Miz, but doesn't fit a talk show guest in general, or an interview segment guest in general. But either way, Bray's here. The answer has been given. Bray wants to take Kane out. And Bray goes off on the changing of the old guard and how the old guard needs to be taken down, and that causes tension between him and Chris Jericho. Nothing comes of it, but the seeds have been planted. The seeds have been planted for this to happen in the future. Why? Because I can make it happen. Now we move forward as another guy who has not been seen since TLC competes in what is actually, I believe, his first match on Raw this year in this season. In Bad News Barrett, as Barrett goes up against Shelton Benjamin, and Barrett is victorious. But it doesn't end there, as Barrett cuts a short promo following the match about how international talent have been disrespected, ignored, forgotten about, and altogether tossed aside by the WWE. And things are about to change, and he's going to lead the change. Where he and other stars from other countries get the respect they deserve, even if it means they have to beat it out of people. It's not actually the concept of, the promo or the full promo. It's just the concept of why he did it, was what I said. As you saw, we went to the broadcast position as the announcers discussed the current events going on between Stephanie, Daniel Bryan, and Brie Bella. And then Stephanie makes her way out to the ring and discusses Daniel Bryan and her issues with Bryan since Daniel returned from his injury a few weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago on Raw, and since then has begged, pleaded with Stephanie and Brie to let him fight. And it has brought out people like Mick Foley, like Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and in many ways brought out the best in Daniel Bryan on the mic. But Stephanie, before she goes too far into it, is interrupted by somebody who knows a thing or two about injuries, and the first man who actually appeared in this escapade of trying to convince Daniel Bryan to retire and that his life is more valuable than his career. Mick Foley comes out and basically tells Stephanie the difference between what she does and what Daniel Bryan does, or what he did in the ring. Wrestling in front of each and every one of these people is a whole lot different than just coming out here and holding a microphone in front of all these people. I am on the side of Daniel Bryan to come back to the ring and fight, because that's what he does best. He fights. And that brings out Brie Bella. By the way, the previous segment with Mick and Steph would be unscripted. They would have complete freedom of what they want to say. I would just tell them, talk about Daniel Bryan. Talk about the fact that Stephanie knows nothing of what it's like to come back from an injury. Because what? She competed in 5 matches? 6 matches? And once again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you don't believe Stephanie has competed in that many matches, look it up. But Brie Bella comes out, and Brie has one question for Mick. And other than that, though this might not be the best thing for me to do, I'm going to let Brie talk from the hip, because I know she has an opinion on this. I know it would be real emotion, and I know a writer can't capture real emotion about how a wife feels about a husband coming back to work after being injured, and possibly after being injured with a serious neck injury, and possibly risking himself and his future by coming back. And Brie asks one question that I would write for her, and that is, Mick, everyone has tremendous respect for you and what you did in this ring, but I have one question for you. Did you ever ask your wife how she felt about you going as far as you did in wrestling? and doing as much as you did and putting your body on the line like you did you ever ask your wife how she feels about it? Did you ever ask your wife how it felt, the hospital visits, seeing you in so much pain and thinking when are you going to give it up? And are you going to give it up when you're in a wheelchair and you can't walk around and play with the kids anymore? Is that when you're going to give it up? Is that when you realize that some things are more important than pro wrestling? Mick just looks at her puzzled and says one thing. It isn't up to you, Bree. It's up to Daniel. If he wants to come back, that's up to him. It's pretty academic that Mick Foley got slapped by Bree, and yes, there is a reason why I'm making Bree come off as a heel. Because it's real emotion. And you know something? Not everybody's gonna like or agree with your emotional opinion. But that's the point. It's your opinion. Not everyone else is gonna share it. Just like the fact that everyone is not gonna agree that John Cena winning is what's best for business. But I'm just gonna say this. The Miz gets the last laugh because Alex Riley comes out on the rampway and distracts John Cena because Cena does not have a damn clue why Riley would be on the rampway, and The Miz jumps Cena, as does Elijah Burke. Yes, that's right, Elijah Burke is back in the WWE. I signed him before TNA could sign him and make him an announcer. Not that he's a bad announcer, it's just that he has talent. And the roster in WWE was so far beyond deep. It was so weak that I signed anyone and everyone that came to mind. And Burke came to mind. Riley was down in developmental, and that's why, well, he just came up. That's why you haven't seen him. Burke I just signed. Let's see. That show increased our popularity in 19 regions, and we got an 80. You might not agree with how I do this, but there's a reason why I do it differently than everyone else. Because it's not supposed to be the same. But that's beside the point. That's beside the point. The point is, this show is the embodiment of what Raw has been the last few weeks, as I've done great with Raw the last couple of weeks, gaining popularity every week. This no different with increasing our popularity in 19 regions. The problem is, I usually lose the popularity I gained on Raw when I do SmackDown. So hopefully, the positive direction that we're going on Monday Night Raw can continue on Friday nights with SmackDown. Will it? Well, for you to find that out, you'll have to watch SmackDown. But that's the next video. For this video, let me know in the comment section below what you thought the worst part of the show was, the best part of the show was, what you thought I could have done better, and what you would have done different if you were in charge. Also, a rating, a like would be much appreciated, and it really does help in making more videos just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Later.